Hello. Start sharing application. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so here is the presentation. All right, it says loading for me. Can anyone else see it? Okay, there we go. Do you all see the first slide? Okay, so this workshop is called Augmented Reality, Bring Your Resume and Other Projects to Life with Zappar. Okay. So what we're going to do first is talk about why we would do a project like this, what is augmented reality, the functions of Zapper Hobbyist, which is both an app and a web tool. You build things in the website and then people can access the content through the app. We'll talk about the supplies that you would need to make these types of projects, how to make an account, how to film professional videos from home to use in these projects. Then I'll show you some examples of projects that I've made, and we'll talk about the different ways that you might be interested in using this tool. Okay, so why this project? So this project is to use augmented reality. The first example that we'll talk about kind of throughout the presentation is going to be how to use it on a resume. So to make your resume come to life, to augment it using a digital tool so that it's not just one static document. Traditionally, resumes would have been handed out in paper form to people, to employers as people sought jobs with them. Nowadays, they're more digital formats, but this tool could be used to augment the resume in either format. And I want to show you how to use this tool because there is this free version of it and you can test out your skills of creating augmented reality. So augmented reality is a type of multimedia content because you can augment a static physical object with video, with digital photos, with sound, with buttons that can link you into further digital content, all those types of things. So I want to show you how you can make the most of that. And in terms of kind of what the purpose of making these projects are, is to do a little bit of marketing for yourself or for an organization that you're part of in a very memorable way. At least that's the intention. At the end of the presentation, you can share your thoughts on how you think this would or wouldn't be that memorable. So let's get a stable definition of augmented reality, or AR, before we continue. So augmented reality is defined as digital information overlaid on a user's view of a physical environment. Said in another way that gives a little bit more detail, we could call it real-time use of information in the form of text, graphics, audio, and other virtual enhancements integrated with real-world objects. And it's any piece of technology that accomplishes these things. And the difference between AR and VR, or virtual reality, is that AR is taking something that exists in the real world, an object, and helping you do something to it so that people can experience it in a new way, versus virtual reality is a simulation that's kind of more of like a all around you immersion type of experience, versus augmented reality, you're still going to see the real world around you. Only one object within it is going to get this digital twist put on it. And if you want to learn more about those definitions, there's a link at the bottom where some other people that are in the field of augmented reality discuss it in different ways and define it. Okay, so Zapper Hobbyist. So Zapper is a company and Zapper Hobbyist is a product that they produce for non-commercial use. That's kind of like an afterthought, like free version. Why don't we give this to the people type of idea that was created out of their commercial products that they sell to businesses. So a lot of the like Zapper augmented reality content and projects that companies would use would be things like maybe on a cereal box, there could be a Zap code, which is similar to a QR code, but a little bit different shape. And someone could scan that with their smartphone or other device that can connect to the internet, and then have an augmented reality game, maybe that is involved with the cereal box or something like that. So the examples that I found online for how it's being used are very much product related. So yeah, companies that sell products will put Zap codes on the products so then you can have a fun experience with the physical product afterwards, after someone buys it. So ZapWorks Designer, which is something that you can use in the hobbyist free level, is where you can stick content to an image of your choice, and then you can customize the content and add a Zap code to the image that you want to track. So what I mean by tracking and sticking is that, let's say you had a greeting card and there's a photo on the front of the greeting card. And let's say that that photo, you want to bring it to life. So you would shoot a video that's connected to that photo scene. It's got the same people in it, the same setup, and you could put a code on the photo, that physical object that would be printed out, and then the code could be scanned, and then someone would see the video through the screen of their device that they're scanning with, even though the physical object in front of them isn't changing and isn't moving. So you can add videos, images, photo albums, sound, text buttons, calendar events, and contact info cards. So the tools that are needed to make this type of content are, first and foremost, probably is the smartphone, because that's going to be the way that most people are viewing the content, and that's how you're going to test out your own projects to make sure that they work, is that you have to have a device that connects to the internet and has a camera on it, like a phone, so that when you scan the code, it will pull up that content on the phone. And then, like I said, the projects you're going to create on the website for Zapper. And after you create a project, you would want to print out the key image of the project. The key image is going to be like the still image that you want people to first see and that has the code on it. And then you'll have like that physical printout that will be the access point for someone to look at your project. And then over here on the right, I know the campus is mostly closed right now. There's very limited access to the libraries on campus, but in the hopes that by time it reopens, all of you would still be able to come to campus and use this service, I wanted to point out the One Button Studio in Alexander Library. So that's in the bottom right corner, and that is a photo studio that has a computer and camera so that you can put in your own flash drive, do some photo shoots, and have instant content without needing to own that camera equipment. And that can be reserved by students. Right now it's closed during the level of shutdown that we have, but in the future, if you wanted to explore the One Button Studio and see when it reopens, then that's a good place to shoot videos that would be a little bit more professional in quality than, say, a video that you're shooting on your phone. Or the examples that I'm going to show you today, I actually filmed them on my laptop. And the way that I did that was when you set up a Zoom meeting, which all of you have Zoom accounts through Rutgers this year, when you start the meeting, or before you start it, when you're organizing the meeting and planning it in like Zoom, you can put it on the option, have it automatically recorded, and then those recordings can be saved in the cloud attached to your Zoom account for, I think, up to 180 days. So what I did was just host a meeting for one where it was going to be recorded, and then I saved those videos from my computer, from the cloud onto my computer to use for this project, as opposed to doing videos on my phone and then transferring them. So either method works for filming, or if you have a professional video camera, even better. These steps to make your account, I'm not going to go into them too much in detail. This is more of just a reference page for if you'd like to go through and make your own account after we're done with the workshop. But yeah, there's the hobbyist level is kind of hidden. So I guess I will just show this to you really quick. Can you guys still see the presentation, or can you see the ZapWorks website now? Anybody? Okay, you can see the website, great. So here's the ZapWorks website. And so Zapper is the name of the company, and then ZapWorks is the different tools. So it's like ZapWorks Designer, ZapWorks Studio are the name of the tools. So you have to scroll down. to ZapWorks Designer, learn about Designer. So the free trial button isn't what's going to give you the hobbyist level account. Oh my gosh, I should have just went to pricing instead. Let me go to the pricing button. The page is that what I wanted. Okay, yeah. So at this pricing page, you'll see that it's subscription based for companies to buy this. So 60 a month or different features, more intense augmented reality you can get for 150 a month. But then below this down here is where you see education and hobby. So you would click get started. I'm not going to click it right now because it would just log me in automatically to my account because I have my password saved. But we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, can you see the full presentation again now? I'm going to go. Ooh.
Yes,
okay.
we can.
Okay, wonderful. So here is a screenshot of the dashboard once you get into an account. And you'll see over here on the left, Universal AR and Studio, those are additional features and tools that you have to have either Windows or Mac to use. And I have a Chromebook, so I haven't actually experimented with these at all. And then billing, if you were going to upgrade your hobbyist account to a business one, then you could get your billing information in there. And then you'll see up here, it says projects remaining too. So the hobbyist account costs nothing, but you only get 5 projects to start with, but they have unlimited data storage. I haven't run into like a threshold, and I haven't seen a stated threshold for how many videos or photos or sound pieces you could have in each project. I think that it's kind of limitless because these types of small content items, the video and the photo, they get compressed to be used in the projects. And I don't think it takes up a lot of space, but you can buy more projects if you go past 5. And then you'll see that I have like 3 working projects right here. And then you'll see down here these little watch videos. If you are going to try using this software, or not the software, this tool, I really think you should watch those videos. They're very helpful. And then this is the price if you wanted to buy additional projects beyond the first 5 that are free with Hobbyist. And like I said, the Studio and Universal AR need software download, but the Designer one, when you're going through to choose what type of project you want to build, you can do this right on their website. So this is what I've been working with so far, and I'm going to be showing you. If you do want to experiment with Studio, that's where you can do some 3D modeling, which is a little bit more intense augmented reality than what I've done so far. And this website, CG Trader's website that is linked over on the right-hand side, has a bunch of free 3D models. It's a company that sells 3D models to companies, but they also have some free ones open to the public. And then you'll see right here, we have a list of different types of triggers. So hopefully, maybe not, but okay. Hopefully you guys are familiar with a QR code. So a QR code is a unique code that when scanned with a QR reader, which could be a QR reader app, or just the cameras in smartphones these days have QR readers built into them, will link you through to a certain website. And then Zap codes are kind of...
Can I ask them a question, Whitney? Do you guys use the QR code?
A very good question.
Folks, it's a question for you. Do you use QR code? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
We'll just keep rolling, I guess.
Okay, keep rolling.
But yeah, so if you didn't know that your smartphone camera had an automatic QR code reader in it, now you do. So versus the Zap codes, these little lightning bolt shaped codes that have these notches around the outside of a circle, those are proprietary style for Zapper and for ZapWorks. And if you don't have the Zapper app, then a regular QR reader will not read that type of code. But if you're going to make a lot of these projects and the people that you're sending them to or having view them get used to the idea of this type of content coming to them, you could tell them to download the Zappar app on the project itself or in another form of communication and have them use a Zap code, because there's a couple of different fun styles for the Zap codes that have kind of like picture components. But the most basic and I think more universal way to get people to access these projects would be through QR code. And then you can see that the technology has an image lookup option as well, but that's definitely going to be above the type of thing that I'm going to be working on for projects. If you're ever working in a business that uses a lot of augmented reality, that could be an interesting avenue to look at. Okay, my slides are frozen. Okay, here we go. So once you get in and you start a project and you've chosen that you're going to do it in Designer, let's just say, you know, this example is my resume, so that's why it says Kehl resume at the top. And then over here on the dashboard, you'll see the triggers, the QR code and the Zap code are both right there. And there's not going to be a place later in the process to download the QR code. You can always come back to this dashboard, but when you start editing with Designer or open with Designer, both of those red buttons on the page will get you to the next step of creating your project. And if you don't get the QR code in the beginning, you're going to have to come back out and get it. The Zap code, there would be a place further in the process where you can download it as you go. And so for these projects, you're going to need a key image that will be the one that's printed out. And like I said before, it could be a screenshot or single frame of the video that you're trying to use, or it could be a separate photo that's just related to that video in some way. And then you're going to download the QR code or Zap code as a PNG or SVG file. The PNG files are going to be easier to incorporate in most image editors. And then you're going to put the code into the image using Photoshop or a free image editor. So Pixlr is a website that's a free image editor. It's kind of like baby's first Photoshop type of situation. It's a kind of a slow moving interface. So just have some patience if you're going to use it. But if you want to use Pixlr to take your key image and add the code into like the corner of it, then you would add first your image, then add the code as an image layer. And then what I actually do to make my key images is go to Google Sheets and I put in my image and then I add in the PNG file of the code that I've downloaded. And then once you have that on one slide of, oh, I put Google Sheets, but this is actually Google Slides. I'm sorry about that. So Slides is like the presentation format, like what I'm using for this presentation today. And you can download one of the slides as a PNG image file. Then once you get through and you've gotten your code and you've uploaded your key image, this is what the work table looks like. And you'll see at the bottom right where there's that little lightning bolt Zap code, right in the gray area above that, it says edit tracking image. So you can change your tracking image along the way if you realize that you needed to crop it to get it to be a different size to match the size of the video or something. And then on the right side in the top area, you'll see all the different types of content that you can add. And then in the center area, maybe I should have started with that. You'll see that faded picture of my resume. That's the key image, and it's faded because it's just letting you prioritize like the other types of content and see which you've added, which are going to show up after the code is scanned. So the little video box that has a black box in the top left corner with the triangle play button in the middle, that's the size that it is when you first ingest a video using the video button on the right. And then you have to use those little light blue squares to drag it to make it larger. And I'm just going to let you know right now that this interface, you know, it's free. I'm not sure how different the paid version is, but getting your cursor on those little blue squares is kind of tricky. It keeps just trying to move the image instead of letting you click onto the corner so that you can drag the corner and enlarge it. So just be prepared to have to work with it for a little bit to get it to what you want. And then at the bottom, you'll see the black box has like a little video preview, and then it has 4 tabs above it: properties, actions, transitions, and appearance. So let me go to the next slide. So I took screenshots closer up of those 4 tabs. So the top left, you'll see I'm on the properties tab. And next to that yellow arrow, I really love to use these options: play on start and hide controls and pause other media. And those are useful because if this is someone's first time scanning a QR code and they're not exactly sure what to do, they might not realize that a video is supposed to be popping up for them after they scan the code. And if you don't do play on start, then they have to push a triangle play button that's on the content, and they might just not notice that, especially if it's similar color to your video. So play on start will help that. And then hide controls, I kind of like that one. It just means that they can't like pause the video unless they exit the app or exit the browser. And pause other media is good. So if they're, listening to something with a music app, or there's a video playing on some other part of their device, it'll pause that content to prioritize yours. And the next to that, you can see scene properties. So you can actually add multiple videos into one project, and then you can have transitions between these different scenes. So you could have, related content, or cover a bunch of different topics. If you're covering different topics, you might want to consider adding some text content that kind of identifies like what step you're at or what subject you're on. On the right-hand side top, you'll see the actions tab, and those are for link to, and then the other options are nothing, go to scene, or host app message. So at the end of my video, I want it to link to my LinkedIn page instead of just staying on that frozen video when it's done, since I didn't push loop video. So you can have it link out to any other website. And then at the bottom, you've got transitions and appearance. So for mine, I chose to do a little bit of a frame around the video, which is the Polaroid style in this case, and change that border to blue. Maybe you just want to leave it as the default where it's just a plain video, but you can play around with these things. And then similar to the way that I had it linked to a website when the video was done playing, you can create buttons where people could link to things. I think the link to is the most useful button, because maybe you want to show them some other content or that's on a website. That could be like a digital portfolio for yourself if this is going to be on your resume, or your LinkedIn page, or any other number of things that showcase your work. Maybe there's a blog that you had something to do with that talked about projects that you did, or a news article or something. So you could edit the text to say whatever that content is, and then they would have to click it to go through. And then you can see at the bottom that there's a couple of other actions that could happen with those buttons. Okay, so now if you have a smartphone, then I'm going to have you guys get those out if you have it with you and if it's charged, and try scanning this QR code yourself. So you're going to open up your camera and put it over the code, and then there should be a little link bar that shows up at the top of your camera. You'll click that link and then keep hovering over this page of the slideshow so that that resume that's on the left is in view of your camera. So I'm gonna have you guys do that. Okay. If you're having an issue and nothing is happening, then say not working in the chat. But if it did work and you saw it, then you could say it worked or something in the chat, just so I know what status you guys are at. Not working. Okay. Did you allow, Samantha, for it to access your camera and microphone, or did you opt out of those? Because if you opt out of them, then if it can't use the camera, it can't scan the image and track the resume.
Yeah, my phone just ran out of battery, so I cannot.
Oh, okay.
It's terrible. But it was going to Safari.
Okay. Well, I will let you guys practice with this and experiment with it after the fact a little bit more. You know, like I said, you'll have the presentations. You can come back out to this slide to test it and see how it works. But there's another example later in the presentation where I'll test it and I'll have my camera facing me so we can test it together.
So basically, this for Sohaib and Dihan, this goes to a moving image, right? It goes to video where Whitney is talking about herself. Is that right?
Yeah, do you guys see like the video of me talking? Okay. Okay. So Samantha, is it working now? Still not working. Okay. Well, we can message back and forth later to maybe try and troubleshoot why it didn't work on your phone. Well, let's before we keep going though, I do want to talk about like, so the idea of doing this type of thing on a resume. So for me, it would depend on what type of job I was applying to, whether or not I would include a personal statement like this with a QR code, depending on the flexibility of the place. So my field is library information science, and I'm focusing in my graduate program on archives and preservation. So in terms of archives, I would hopefully be working in an archive at a cultural institution after I graduate. And I think that somewhere like a museum would appreciate this type of interactivity and this kind of fun idea on a resume. But some places that are larger companies that might be using software to pre-scan resumes for certain qualities before it gets passed on to an HR manager, or just, yeah, and also in bigger companies, if there's going to be a larger volume of applicants maybe, then this type of content might not get noticed and could potentially even be a hindrance to your resume. So this is just one possible idea of how you could use it. As opposed to putting it on the resume, I think I will be much more likely in the future to, whenever a job asks for a personal statement letter, I would include this on the personal statement, and I would make it a custom video that talks about, just in like 20 to 30 seconds, or maybe even less, because that's probably all the time that the reviewer has, but talk about my interest in that company and why it would be a good fit. So yeah, on a resume, it's hard to kind of say something about yourself, but also make it relevant to being a job applicant without going over in time or being just kind of vague. Personal statement would let you go a little further with it. And if you want more information about why you shouldn't include a picture on your resume, that's something that I stumbled across when I was researching this idea of adding creative content to a resume. There's a link at the bottom about that. In that little blurb that I have under the QR code on the actual resume, what I'm saying in it is, scan with camera on a smartphone to meet the face behind the name. So is that the best little statement, meet the face behind the name? I thought that it was a good way to tell them that if they scan this code, they are going to see my face. And if the business is trying to not discriminate based on things like race and gender and stuff like that, and if they have limitations about if there is a picture on the resume that they can't accept that application, then that's kind of like a disclaimer, like saying like, you're going to see my face if you scan this. Versus on a personal statement, I would probably make a little notice saying, scan it on a camera on a smartphone to have my own thoughts on the company, or my video personal statement or something like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so a more fun version of this project, or not version, just a totally different project, would be to use augmented reality for something like a birthday card or any other type of greeting card that you're going to be sending in the mail to someone. And this is where I think that this type of content could really shine in your personal life, is to connect with other people that you care about in this kind of fun multimedia way. So if you're looking to do something like that, and if you have access to a printer, or if you could get something printed out through a company or at a job site or something like that, if you want to do it like this card style, this is just a piece of copy paper, and this template on the left shows you that if you were imagining the piece of paper cut into 4 pieces or folded into 4s, then the bottom right is going to be the front, and then the top left is going to be the inside on the right. But you need to make this content in the top left upside down in order for it to align properly when you fold it up, because you'd fold across that horizontal line first and then the vertical one to get this kind of 4-way, 4-flap
Is
card.
that you, Whitney, on the photo?
Yes, so that
Oh,
is me, and I will show you this project. I'm going to stop the screen share and try and do it through my phone with the physical card now. But you could, on the left, it didn't have the dotted, oh dear. On the left side, those dotted lines are just, I added them in afterwards to show you where I folded, but that piece of white paper is what I actually printed out. And then I did some watercolor painting on the front, and then I would write a message on the inside of the card. So let me stop the screen share. Okay, can you guys all see me now?
yes.
Okay. So if you want to do the speaker view, or if you want to use the little thumbtack that's in the top left corner of my picture, then I'll become the biggest one, which might help for you to see this. So here is this card, and there at the inside. Now I'm going to take my smartphone and I'm going to go over the QR code, and it's got a focus on it. So, okay, now you see that there's this little gray box at the top.
Mm.
So I'm going to click on that. Then I have to accept the launch of the app. And then I have to accept that it's going to access the camera. So I'm going to push allow. And now it's searching. Okay, let me turn up the volume.
It's coming.
Kings and queens and bishops too, they want to wish the best to you. So wish day, wash day, what do you say? Birthday, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
That's so cute.
And now it's looping. So this one I chose to loop because I thought with something like a resume, it would be kind of annoying if you already spent, your 20 seconds looking at someone's special video on their resume and then it started playing again. But a birthday card going to a friend, yeah, keep the fun rolling. I decided to do a loop. So you can use those different options in different ways depending on the type of project that you're using. So I'm going to start screen sharing again, and we just got a couple of slides left, and then we'll discuss some applications for the projects. Okay, here we go. Okay, so yeah, a birthday card I thought was a fun way to use the technology, and I am going to fill out a message in this birthday card tonight and mail it out to a friend tomorrow. So it's all for good use. Okay, so here, let's take a look at some formatting options. I hope that you guys noticed when I was holding the card that as I kind of moved the phone around, like in relation to the card, the tracking pinned onto the photo in the card. So if my phone got further away, the video got smaller, or if I went kind of to the side, it still held that same place on the card. So the tracking is I'd say pretty impressive and works pretty good with this free tool. Now, if your tracking image that you're printing out is not the same size as your video, then you're going to get these weird little peekaboo things like you'll see in the middle of the page. That's a screenshot of when I was doing like a test run. And I don't like how the video is wider, but also not as tall as the key image. You can see the key image peeking out a little bit at the top and bottom. And in this one, I tried doing it with the QR code separated from the key image. And I thought when I started using this tool that the code had to be on the image. It doesn't. It just makes it easier for the person who's viewing it to kind of like get the picture. Because if they have their phone focused on the QR code and it's not with the picture, and then they leave it there after the video starts playing, they're not going to realize that it's tracking to the printed image. If you look at the screenshot that I have on the right, you'll see that the video content goes all the way to the edges of my phone screen. And then at the top of that screenshot, you can see the QR code and the bottom of the key image in the background. So in order to get that tracking function, which I think is kind of the most fun and most magical part of this, it just helps to have the QR code on the image. In terms of filming videos from home, if you're going to be doing it inside, make sure that the lighting is in front of you. If you have it behind you, then your face will be in shadows. So some ways to kind of alter the lighting are to make sure that any lamps or anything that are behind you are off, or you could unplug them and move them to the other side of the room and turn them on somewhere different so that you get more front illumination. And then you'll also want to think about what's in the background. So in my birthday card video, I was doing it outside, and the background was a very bright yellow ginkgo tree that's in my neighbor's front yard. And there was a vehicle in the frame, but it was my vehicle. And the friend that I'm sending this to knows how much I love that car. It's a Jeep Renegade and I just love it. So I thought that it was just fine to have it in the shop because it's kind of meaningful in a little way to myself and that friend. But if I was filming an outdoor video for like a resume or a personal statement, I would want a more neutral backdrop that didn't have the opportunity for people to be driving by on the road, vehicles, garbage cans, that type of thing. Just be aware of what's around in the background that other people would be able to see that you might not notice at first because you just see those surroundings all the time. And the same goes for inside. If you have water glasses or your dirty sink or whatever, maybe just think about trying to get those things out of the way or moving away from them so it's not distracting. And the same thing about noise. You don't want noise to be distracting in your video. So if you have an air conditioning unit or a fan or something that you could turn off while you're doing filming at home, then that's great. If you live with people or have pets, then you'll want to let them know that you're going to be filming just to make your life a little easier so you don't have to do multiple tries to get a video that you like. If you think about these little things ahead of time, then hopefully you would only have to shoot it like 2 or 3 times and pick your favorite. I have never just shot a video for something and loved it on the first try. If you can do that, then that's impressive. But even if you like the first one, I would also recommend that when you're filming videos that you're going to be sharing with people, do more than one go at it, especially if it's just a short little 20-30 second thing, like for these projects it might be, and then pick your favorite because you might not even realize that one could be better for a certain reason. Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys just look at these discussion questions for a second, but then I'll stop screen sharing and I hope that you'll turn your microphones on and we could discuss them. And I can copy and paste them into the chat. So let me go ahead and do that so that you guys can see them, but we don't have to keep the presentation up. I want to see if anyone wants to turn on their cameras, then that's great. Let's see, I'll do the chat.
Whitney, I just have to say that the example of the birthday card with the video was just amazing.
Oh, good.
So much fun to watch, and also like Samantha said, it was adorable, and I totally agree with her.
Well, I'm so glad you think so. Yeah. So I think that, well, I will talk about why I like my card and my project in a moment, but first let's hear from you guys. Creative ways that you think that you could use this and what you are excited about to do with it, maybe, if you have had those thoughts already. So anybody can go ahead when they want.
Well, Diha, you're first on my list here. Do you think you could talk a little bit about it?
Hello, can you
Yeah.
speak? Yeah. Sorry, what was the question again?
So the questions could be, what types of projects could you use this tool for, either for school, work, or personal? And then you could answer that, or another question is, regarding the use of AR, what role would the real world play in the experience? Who could be your target users? How will the content be shared or displayed?
Mhm.
So any of those that you have.
I really okay. So I really enjoyed like the birthday card example. I feel like especially during like COVID and where like social distance or practicing social distance is very important. I feel like it creates it's very relevant in that sense that allows users to be interactive even though they are far. So I feel like it really comes down to like it it really mainly targets like basically anybody when you think about it. So it basically any consumers could be like your targeted audience, especially during a time like now where especially technology like happens to play like a main role in almost in anything and everything. So I feel like especially with the COVID-19 situation, it really stands out.
Mhm.
Great.
Great, yeah. Actually, have you any of you heard about this Zappar before today?
No, I actually haven't. This is my first time hearing about it, and I really find it like a cool concept.
Mhm.
How bringing Q like reading QRs and bringing them to like live through augmented reality, because I feel like you don't really necessarily see those concepts in the business or like educational world, whereas like I mainly see them in like gamings like
Mhm.
VR and AR, like it happens to play like a major role in the gaming industry, but bringing that to like in the workplace or even personal life is truly game changing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So the other is that, am I pronouncing it correctly? So how do we pronounce Sohaib? Is that correct?
It's Suhaib.
Suhaib. I'm sorry. So Suhaib, what did you think of Whitney's presentation?
I loved it. This was, like I said, this is something I haven't been exposed to before. Any aspect of this AR design process. I've definitely seen AR apps, but this was a totally new experience. So I think the fact that we learned to be able to customize this stuff and really be able to put it to practical use, I would say it was pretty useful.
Great. Yeah. And how about you, Samantha?
Yeah, same like everyone else. This is the first time I'm also hearing about it, but I also really think like it's an interesting, like cool app and concept. And just like Whitney, like my friend's birthday is tomorrow, so I actually want to play around with it and like I want to make one of those. So it looks really cool and interesting, and I think she
Oh,
would love it.
wow. Oh, that would be terrific. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sure your friend will be very impressed.
yeah, it seems really cool. And yeah, especially since we're like in such a like a tech savvy world and like just everything's like being online, I could really see this being like it has like multiple like uses, like you could use it for work, school, personal. Like I definitely can see it like everywhere, especially in like marketing and stuff. Like everyone just carries a phone now, so like just scanning something and like a cute little video popping up, like yeah. But I definitely love this. I might just play around with it tonight.
Oh, that's
Great.
excellent.
Great.
Great. Yeah.
I have a question. Are any of you involved in any clubs related to Rutgers?
Student groups.
Student groups, student activities, like outside of your coursework.
Yes, I
Well,
actually am.
okay.
I am.
What club are you in?
It's a culture club. It's called BSA, stands for Bengali Student Association.
Okay. Are you involved in any of the planning parts of the club, or do you just
Yeah, I'm actually part of the e-board. So like I'm part of like one of the board. So like we do like plan organizations and like hold events. Like obviously because it's virtual, so now we're having like virtual events, and virtual meetings through Zoom. But yeah.
Are you in United States or are you in Bangladesh now?
No, I'm in the States. No,
Oh.
like just like the club itself is like the cultural organization to promote and like the culture and like bring awareness and to like
Oh.
basically educate and bring awareness to the South Asian community.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yes.
The reason that I bring it up is because one use that I thought that this project could, or this tool could be useful for, obviously right now, all programs are virtual for student organizations, for school, for a lot of business, people are meeting virtually, but in the light of the fact that eventually COVID will, dissipate and people will be able to meet back in person. When I was in my undergraduate college up in Buffalo, New York, I remember in all the academic buildings, there would be bulletin boards with club flyers all over them. And I was thinking that I didn't know about this back then, but back when I was an e-board member of one of those, it would have been cool to have one of the members or board members of the club's picture on a flyer and then the QR code. And then if someone scanned it, they could be like, come to our meetings on Tuesday nights, like bring something like a flyer that would be posted in a public place alive. And something that I might actually do along a similar line, Stephanie Bartz is one of the librarians at Rutgers who's in charge of the government documents collections, which are in Alexander Library and LSM for like the New Brunswick area. And she actually lives in the same town as me, which is the town of South River, which is about 7 miles east of New Brunswick. And she does a lot for the Historical Society in South River, which has a little museum with artifacts from the town and displays about town history that has been closed since the beginning of the shutdown. But in the meantime, she's been making YouTube videos that are these presentations about different topics of the town history. And I haven't floated it by her yet, but I would love to do a little video of her in front of the museum saying like, we've created this YouTube channel, you should check out these videos. And then like I said earlier, with the button function, you can link to a video if someone clicks a button in your project. So I think it would be fun to do a little like interview with her that has buttons that link to this online content and then post that in like flyer form at the front door of the museum. So if anybody walks up and is looking for information about it, they could have a little interactive experience to get to that content.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Diha.
Oh, I also wanted to like mention how like I really think this concept like truly helps within the marketing department because I myself am part of the marketing department for my club. So I really do think like it does like stand out and it's very unique. It's a very unique concept. And I also wanted to like address how like even in like I could also see like major companies in the future like perhaps like like there are like big billboards out there in roads. So I feel like because it doesn't necessarily allow you to promote video content, it's more pictures related. So having those codes on those billboards could easily allow you to like take a snap or like take a picture on your phone and then later view it as you're like down the road. So I really do feel like it can get bigger than it already is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like we can expand upon this because it's one thing you take it and use it towards clubs, but why not also extend upon it towards marketing, recruitment, and engagement efforts, right? So you can talk about departments, actual schools, like School of Engineering could really use it. And I can actually talk to your dean's office if you guys want. We could really see if we could work up a different project for this. And I know School of Business and so many other different departments could also use in their marketing efforts.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys think this has potential beyond what we're just talking about?
Well, what we know is that the Rutgers libraries in Camden, they actually have, there's one librarian who has been working with it, And then when they do, I don't know if they're doing the online orientation, but this concept actually works well too, because the director, let's say there's a flyer or something with the director's photo, and then if you click on the QR code, she actually can sort of welcome the people either virtually, or if it's a physical flyer, if people come in and they just focus the phone on the QR code, the director can just say her remarks and welcoming people. And I know they have used that, but that is only used in the libraries that we know of. But as you said, it's a similar concept. Like the Dean of Engineering, Thomas Ferris, would be a picture of him, and then if you click on the QR code with your phone, he can just welcome people to the building or to the department and the school, right? I think it works well.
Right. And I was actually thinking, so at the School of Engineering, we have an ambassador system, and our goal is to try to
I'm sorry, what system?
an ambassador system. So we can,
Ambassador.
yeah. And I was gonna say our goal is to essentially, and I'm a part of that. So our goal is to essentially try to really propagate and share student stories with people. We're trying to share people's stories and what it means to Rutgers. So this got me thinking, and I think we have a social media account that's just for students and for ambassadors to reach out to students. We also have a bunch of different marketing and communication channels.
Oh,
So what
wow.
I was
So
gonna say,
is this an initiative to the entire School of Engineering, or it's just for your department?
no, it's the entire School of Engineering. We work with Dean Cadena. So if you heard of Jasenia Cadena.
I'm sorry?
I said we work with Dean Cadena at School of Engineering. She's a DS.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah. So this ambassador system is it's an outreach to recruit students and so forth.
It's part of it, yeah. Part of it's reaching out to prospective students. Part of it is really expanding the mission and the vision of the school toward current students, things like that. So we do a bunch of different stuff. And what I was thinking was, if you guys were potentially open to it, we have a social media and we have an outreach committee as part of the program. So what we could do is we could potentially run a workshop that teaches them these kinds of tools, and then they could hopefully then go out and maybe share, either create content with them, so we have content on behalf of workers, or they could teach other people that. If you want, I could talk to the Cadena and the committee, and then
Well, it's up to Whitney because she's the one who will be doing the workshop, but it sounds very attractive to me. What do you think, Whitney?
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm recorded this session, so why don't you email me afterwards, and we could talk about if you would want like a live session that's very similar to this, or if there are other things that you had in mind, and if I could help with it or not. So yeah, email me afterwards. We can talk more.
Yeah, so hey, why don't you talk to Dean Cadena and then get back to Whitney about it? And I think it would be an interesting experience.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'll speak with Dean Cadena and our committees first, the other ambassadors, and then I'll get back to Whitney. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds great. How many ambassadors do you have?
I believe we're about 31 or so, 30,
Oh,
somewhere in like the early 30s, yeah.
That's a lot of ambassadors.
Yeah, I would say we do a pretty good job of organizing amongst ourselves. We do a lot of work, so it ends up, we end up meeting everyone we can get.
Yeah, I think we'd love to learn about what to do, and even outside this topic of Zappar, if there is anything we can do from the libraries, I think would be very much interested in doing. And just for your information, we have a colleague who is an engineering librarian. Have you had a chance to meet her?
Connie Vu, is that
Yeah.
her name?
Yeah.
I've attended her patent seminar, so I've briefly spoken to her for a bit, but yeah, not in detail. I'm actually only a sophomore right now, so I'm a second year undergrad student, and for most, like I would say half of my undergrad career, I've been actually more than that. I've been locked up because of COVID.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry that you have to be. I'm especially sorry for the undergraduate students because it's such an unfortunate situation. We would love to see you and welcome you in the libraries, but it's we can still connect, but it's really not the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Well,
So
hopefully we get some good news, and eventually, I mean, we'll be back on campus real soon.
yeah,
So I'm
I
looking
hope
forward to
so. I really hope so.
I've got my fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, Ni, I'm sorry. I think you didn't. When you arrived, the workshop was almost over. But thank you for coming.
Yes, and like I said in the chat message too, we'll get
Oh,
the presentation and recording afterwards. So yeah, but Nee, did you get in to see any of the demo part at the end, or were we already in this discussion mode when you got here? I'm just wondering how much you caught. Okay, only heard the discussion. Okay, no problem. Well, yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on where you would use the tool first? Do you think, like Samantha said, she might use it to do a birthday card in the near future? Do any of you have any specific ideas in mind that you would already be able to start working on? Or are you just going to float it by the people that you work with and see how it could be used in the future?
I think I'm just gonna like play around with it, just see if I can get proficient with the software, and then like if I ever need in the future, I can always use it after that.
Yeah, yeah. Let me show you one more thing about the platform. I'm going to share again. And it's about the number of projects and the fact that you only get 5 free projects with the hobbyist level. So here we go. I'm going to share for just another moment. Okay, so here in this projects dashboard, you'll see that I have 3 projects right now, and 2 of them kind of look the same. And that's because this older one is called Cat Sample. And this is something that I worked on months ago when I was just learning about the app. And I've totally changed out the content. I just wanted to know if you could change the videos and change the tracking image and pretty much just redo the whole thing, but within the same project. Without having to pay for a new project? And the answer is yes, you can. So right now, like if I added something, let's say I added a button. Now because I've added something new, the red publish button has popped up in the top right corner. So the code is kind of yours. Like you have 5 codes that are yours basically with these 5 free projects, and you can totally switch out the content and then publish it anew. So you can recycle those projects once their purpose is done. So that's just a good thing to know about, especially if you're going to be experimenting with it. That it's not like you're wasting projects. You can always go back and revamp them if you don't want to have to pay for extra ones.
so Samantha may make a card tonight, but a month from now, if she has another birthday recipient, she can redo the card.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and send to a new person. I see. That's
Right.
interesting.
And the tracking image does not have to be an image that matches the video content. So the 2 examples that I showed you, the resume and the birthday card, with the resume, I just had the QR code on it, and the tracking image was just a screenshot that I had taken of the top half of my resume so that my video would track with the top half of that resume, either on someone's computer screen or the paper resume like this. So I used like a screenshot of this part, but if I wanted the video to play in the middle, then I would use this area as the tracking image. And if for like the birthday card, you could have the tracking image be the whole front of the card, and a video could come up here, and it doesn't have to be, you know, a video of this leaf. And basically what I'm saying is you don't have to have the picture be part of the video. So this is what the video kind of looks like, but they could be unrelated. So
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
do you guys have any questions about the functionality of the app? I'm still kind of an amateur at it. I haven't used the studio software to experiment with the 3D models, so I can't answer any questions about that. But I hope to experiment with it sometime soon if I can get the computer access to. But any other questions?
Not really a question, but I did want to just say thank you to you guys for hosting this, because I know it's a Thursday night, it's 8 p.m. and like it was still a really good session and we did learn a lot. So thank you for hosting it.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's very sweet.
So glad that you guys came, and yeah, I hoped that the nighttime would mean that people were, done with their official meetings and things for class and whatnot. But I am going to copy now a link to the survey in chat, and there's one last slide of the presentation which has the link to the survey and basically just says thank you and has a link to the Margery Summers Foster website in case you're wondering about our future events. So when I send the PowerPoint presentation out afterwards, you can go down to the bottom and find that survey link if you're not going to do it right now, but I'll put it in the chat right now.
Yeah, basically, we ask participants to fill the survey because we are interested in knowing what kind of events you're interested in attending, workshops. So we'd like to sort of know who you are, where you are in your academic field at Rutgers, and also we learned a lot from Suhaib and Dihan. You guys are both involved in different groups. I didn't know about the ambassador program at School of Engineering, so that was also interesting. So keep in touch, and if there's anything we can do for you, let us know. We'll be happy to stay engaged with you all.
Oh, I just realized I didn't put the link to the survey.
Oh yeah, the link didn't come. Okay.
Okay. So yeah.
So thank you, Whitney.